What an amazing morning to be in church. It is my great honor to speak to the offering today. And, this week while I've been praying about what I could share, and there's a few different directions I was looking at. But then yesterday, God really reminded me of something which He's actually been speaking to me about my life. And this revelation that He's been really challenging me through and has really been opening my eyes to. And I really felt God say, Lord, use that for the offering. And so I would love it, Josh, if you've got the slides, if you could put up the first slide to show where this revelation came from. This revelation came from the very Christian spot of sitting in a theater watching The Little Mermaid. And before you judge me, I can tell you that Jesus has seen it because He spoke to me while watching it. So I went and saw The Little Mermaid, and I quite enjoyed it. And while I was watching it, if you're not aware of the movie, I don't want to give any spoilers out for people who still want to see it, but The Little Mermaid is about a mermaid. It's about a mermaid, and in case, and now again, I don't want to ruin anyone's, I don't want to disappoint you, but they couldn't actually cast a mermaid in the role. And it was really difficult for them to find someone who could breathe and sing underwater. As you could imagine, they're not that common. And so what they did is, using the amazing movie magic, is they hired a regular person and pretended that she could sing underwater. I'm sorry if I've disappointed you. I'm sorry. Yeah, the crab, that was a lot easier. They had a little audition. They all lined up. So the thing is about this movie is that a lot of the movie does take place underwater, as you can see in the photos up there, and they have a big song and dance number called Under the Sea, which is sung by Sebastian the Crab, and they all sing and dance, and she dances with the turtles and the seahorses, and you'll just find your cheeks hurting because you're smiling because there's so much joy on this screen, and it's beautiful. But in reality, if we could go to the next screen, this is actually what that whole sequence looked like. Not quite as magical, not quite as joyous. There was no singing crab. Instead, they just had a man with a little puppet waving it around, and he would be singing it. And she didn't actually have a mermaid tail. Again, they had to get someone with legs. So she's just wearing black pants. They couldn't have her hair floating in the water because there was no water. So she's just wearing a hairnet. Over on the left, you'll see these are all the people who turned out to be all the different seaweeds and the octopus. And they had 30 dancers who would just dance around pretending to be the animals. And then in the amazing world of cinema, after they finished filming this, then if we can go back to the first screen, they turned it into this. And the thing which God spoke to me about was because I saw an interview with the actress, and she said how for a lot of the filming, she was the only human there. She said, I think for the first 3 months, she was the only actress on set. And she said that it was actually really difficult to not just feel like an idiot while she said, I'm there harnessed, and I've got spots all over my face, and I'm talking to these puppets. And she said there were times when at the end of the day when they'd show me the recording, she said, I look like a lunatic. And she said it was actually really hard to not think about what I look like right now. And the thing that God spoke to me was He said, in that moment when she was filming, she had to trust the director, Rob Marshall, who said, don't worry, I'm going to put a mermaid tail on. Don't worry, you will have hair in the film. Don't worry, it's not going to be a puppet, there will be a little singing crab. She couldn't control whether or not the CGI would mean that there's a crab or whether it was always going to look like that man holding a puppet. And the thing that God really challenged me was He said that she couldn't wait until the premiere to see all the CGI to say, okay, I'm going to sing and dance as though this crab is real. She had to choose 3 years earlier to sing and dance to a little puppet, and 3 years later she got to see on the big screen her singing and dancing with Sebastian the Crab. And the thing God challenged me was He said, you can't wait to see what I'm going to do before you obey me. As I see, again, Little Mermaid, very Christian concepts. But God challenged me and He said, if she was willing to have faith in a person who said, you look like an idiot, you'll look silly, but not when the premiere happens. He said, why won't you trust me when I say, I need you to give this. I need you to stand in, I need you to obey me in this way. I need you to stand in faith And I might say, God, right now I feel like I'm harnessed with dots on my face singing to a puppet. And God said, it's okay. You might have to wait 3 years, but one day you'll see I was going to do everything I needed to do. And so the challenge I want to give you is to say that, the Bible is filled with scriptures where God tells us to do things which if the world just walked in, it would be like if I just walked into that soundstage and saw her harnessed from this, harnessed and singing and dancing. I'd be like, what is she doing? That makes no sense. There are many times that I think if the world came and looked at me and looked at how I, budgeted and what I put money into and who I gave money to, they would say, that doesn't make sense. Because they can't see the scriptures that I'm standing on. They can't see the things that God has dropped in my heart. They can't see the things I'm sowing into. They can't see what the director has told me will happen. And so I want to encourage you that as we give today, I want to encourage you that if God has given you a promise, I just want to say you need to trust him today. You can't wait to see what God's going to do when you say, okay, God, now I will give that gift. Now I will start tithing. No, you have to do it now and trust that you will see all the things that God will do afterwards. And, before we give, I'd love if we can just put up the 3 and 4 screen. This is just to make everyone smile. This is, again, just ruining movie magic with some other classic movies to see that sometimes when you see things on screen, realizing that people had to have a lot of faith in order to do the things that they did. And if these people could have faith in the director and could not feel stupid, then we today as a church family can give our gifts and say, God, we are tithing because of what you've said. We are going to give an offering because of what you've promised. We're going to do it today and believe that one day soon it'll be like us sitting in that premiere and we'll see what it turned into and what God did with today's offering. So I invite the ushers back, pass the buckets. Details are up there for how to give. There's no obligation. We won't keep record of who gives. This is between you and God. But I encourage, maybe we can sing that song, How Great Is Our God, one more time. And you can have a moment with your director and say, God, I'm doing it today because of what you are going to do after this.